You know what app I use on my phone more than any other app, besides the podcast app, to listen to this here podcast? I use onX. onX Maps is the most comprehensive mapping system for hunters on the market today. I use it all the time. When I was in New Mexico, I was looking at 40,000 acres of ranch that I needed to learn. I flip open onX and just start studying the map. When I'm riding trails, I put the tracking app on. It helps me get around in strange country. I could mark water sources, food sources, bear sign, just all kinds of options within onX. You need to check out onX Maps by going to houndsmanxp.com. Click on the link on our sponsor page. You'll go right to onX Maps, and when you check out, enter the code HXP20 and you will get 20% off of your order. Know where you stand with onX. Check out Cajun Lights, your complete dog hunting outfitter. Tracking equipment, leashes, collars, dog supplies, and much, much more. You can find it all at CajunLights.com. And don't forget their outstanding lineup of lights. You can find it all at CajunLights.com. Elite nutrition products are the hottest thing on the market right now for dog and horse owners. And Houndsman XP is a dealer. You can find all their products on our website at houndsmanxp.com. Over the past 5 years, you've tuned into this podcast, and I don't take it lightly. We have built a mutual trust. And when I recommend a product, it's because I believe in it, I use it, and I'm given my seal of approval for that. I'm putting my name on that. And with Elite Nutrition products, I do trust it. I do use it. I've seen great results with their essential dogs, their pre and probiotics, their tick-borne disease treatment. It's all natural. It's a great alternative to pharmaceuticals when used appropriately. If you expect extreme performance, you need Elite Nutrition. Available from houndsmanxp.com.
On the way to where I was headed to go, I was just going to go on a quick rabbit hunt. Just had one dog in the truck and the Goshawk. And on the way, I got a duck slip with no success. Pull up to the rabbit spot, get out of the truck, had a rabbit slip right out of the gate. My bird furs the rabbit, no catch or anything. We get back together, and my dog goes on point 80 yards to my right in some real short grass. I was like, oh man, if there's a rabbit there, that thing is cooked. Perfect. And covey of quail gets up, bird rockets in, yanks feathers on the rise. I have it on video. It was awesome. And ends up flying up one of the quail down and catching it. I get up to the bird. I'm like, wow, that was awesome. You know, this is great. Caught a quail, not even intending to do it in a spot that I rarely see quail.
Hey, how's it going, everyone? Welcome back for another episode of the Falconry Chronicles podcast. And as you heard me announce previously, we are pretty current now on episodes. I'm completely through the backlog that I've been working through the past year or so, and we are actually into episodes now that I recorded, I don't know, probably about a month ago. So these next handful of episodes that you're going to hear are episodes with Falconers from Kansas, and special thanks to Jake Thomas, who's also the guest for this episode, in helping to make these recordings happen. He was kind enough to let me stay with him for a weekend to get these done, so I'm very happy to finally bring you some more action from Kansas, starting off with Jake and his experiences in falconry so far, including his experience with goshawks, his preferences in dogs, and of course some of his stories. So let's just jump right in, and here we go. So yeah, I guess we can go ahead and begin with that train of thought. You know, we got to poke a little fun at some of our mutual friends here.
That's right, the Dachshund crew, huh?
Yeah, the Dachshund crew, and you know, I just want you to go ahead and just reiterate what you just said to me about, you know, this high tech setup and it being so much more advanced than, you know, certain other podcasts.
Yeah, certain other falconry podcasts, just they don't have microphones and headphones. They just want you to yell into your telephone, you know.
It's yeah. I mean, it wouldn't be a start to something like this without poking some fun at some mutual friends, right? You know,
That's right.
we gotta bust some chops every so often. You know, we take our share too, so it's all good. It's all good. Appreciate you having me though, man.
Yeah, dude, anytime.
Yeah, no, thanks.
It's cool.
Yeah, like I said, I appreciate you. Helping throw this together this weekend, and I'm glad that we could finally figure this out. I mean, we've been talking about this for almost 2 years now, trying to make something like this.
It's been a while, man. It's been a while. Yeah, I just feel there's a lot of value in getting some of these, I don't know if you want to call them the old guard, the OGs, but getting them on, I think that's a lot of our Kansas Falconers have done some pretty cool stuff, so I feel like they could definitely offer some stuff to the body of what you got going.
Yeah, no, for sure, and that's the whole point, man. I mean, I don't know if you've realized this or not. I mean, it hit me the other day. I mean, there's already been about maybe somewhere between 4 to 6 Falconers that I've had on that have passed already. Yeah, I mean, it's really sad to think about.
Yeah, and it's really kind of became real to me. I've lost some family here recently that, it can happen that easy and quick too. So, and we had a Falconer here that ran a rehab that I didn't really know that a lot of these guys will probably talk to you about that I never got to meet, and I wish I would have, and it was just kind of how everything laid out with me getting into falconry that I just never got to meet him.
Yeah. It's a bummer, man. I mean, I really wish that there was a way for me to, I don't win the lottery or whatever. I guess now with my situation, I could try and find a really rich older woman or something to shack up with. I don't know, whatever. But
and that might be the move. I think it really is.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm doing my best. I keep trying to make stuff happen, and now that I've got things going a little bit differently now, I'm hoping that I'll be able to hit some more meets and stuff this year potentially, depending on, like we were just talking, if I can, bribe my kid or somebody into watching my other animals for me that I won't be bringing with me, while I'm gone and stuff. Things are a little different now, but I'm doing my best trying to juggle. And like I said, I'm glad that we could make this happen. And I mean, it's been a work in progress for sure. Yeah,
for sure. We were even going to catch up at NAFA, and NAFA was same week as our rifle season here, and I had a pretty sweet deer tag, so I didn't make it down there.
I don't blame you.
I had my hands full.
I don't blame you, man. It was a busy week for me anyway, too. I mean, doing the whole guest speaking thing, and then, driving upwards of about an hour each day to the spot that we were hunting each day, me and Tyler Wright. Yeah, I mean, it was busy, so it would have been hard.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, it would have been hard to find the time, but I don't know, man. Glad we're doing it now. And so remind me again, you said you've been here for 5 years?
Yeah, I bought this place about 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So pretty cool little spot, unique, and that I've kind of right on the edge of town and have game that I've caught here with the birds of prey. We've killed a couple really nice deer here, turkeys, all kinds of stuff. Oftentimes I walk out and there's deer in our garden, or I have a food plot I keep pretty well maintained that right behind my dog kennels that it'll be full of deer, turkey strutting in it. It's a lot of fun to walk out and just see that. I have a covey of quail that's in and out kind of stuff too, and I've flown them with no success. I have too many brush piles, but we have fun doing it. Dogs get to go point them, so it's great.
Nice.
I really like the spot I'm at.
Nice. Yeah, no, this is nice. It's a nice spot. It's a nice little secluded, dead end, type spot. And you got what it just appears to be the one neighbor just down there.
I share a driveway with a old retired dude that sees how many cigarettes he can smoke on his porch every day. He's cool dude, likes to go fishing. Me and him BS all the time, and got one neighbor and kind of butt up to on the other side. I don't really have, like I said, I don't have neighbors, so it's great. And I'm like my west property line, city limits, so It's kind of unique. I have a railroad that goes right next to me, but I mean, I don't even hear it anymore. I've been here long enough and stuff like that. So it definitely has its perks. Mile from the grocery store. It's kind of adverse to, I grew up 30 miles out of town, so this is a big change.
Yeah, it's a good change, though, it sounds like.
Absolutely.
The first thought that I had passing the other dude's house, though, on the way up this dead-end drive, you remember the movie Black Sheep?
I don't know if I've seen that one.
It was the David Spade Chris Farley movie?
I think I know what you're talking about.
Okay, well, they stumble upon like the dude that Gary Busey's playing, the old army vet or whatever, in the school bus, and like that's kind of the vibe that I.
Here's some banjos playing up my driveway. You bet.
With like all the booby traps and stuff up the driveway and everything. I was just like, I don't know if I should come all the way up here or not. I don't know if I'm going to be blown up or whatever. But yeah, man, no, it's a cool place though.
Thanks,
you can tell you've kind of made it your own. Like I said, I'm in the process of doing that with my new place right now too and stuff. But yeah, I mean, so going back to it, like, you mentioned, kind of your start and everything. Like, yeah, remind me again how many years you've been in this now.
So I've only been flying a bird. This is just finished up my 4th season. 2 years with a red tail and 2 years with my imprint, Tiercel Siberian Goshawk from Mark Moglich. So we've been having a lot of fun with that stuff, but I've been around and helping falconers and going out with falconers for a really long time now, since I was just a youngster. So we, if you want to get into the start of it, we can, or.
Yeah, go for it, man. Yeah, just might as well.
Yeah. No, I was, grew up on a ranch outside of town, and, just one day in February, I was, always enthralled with hunting. Always been into outdoor stuff and trapping anything I could get my hands on, every magazine I could get, whatever. And one February day, balmy day outside, we just got done feeding cattle and on our ranch, and van pulls up to the door, and these 2 dudes get out, and they're asking if they can go duck hunting on one of our ponds. And I was like, man, I know duck season's over. And this guy's, I'm talking to him like, yeah, duck season's been over for a while, guys. And they open up their sliding door on their van, and they're like, yeah, we're trying to catch them with these falcons and this and that. And I mean, it would have been so easy for them to throw me in the van with them and take off with me. And, they had a cache of falcons in there, and man, my eyes were like dinner plates, man. I thought it was the coolest thing ever. And we went out, and unfortunately, I believe the guy's bird went off after some crows, and then ended up going on a little telemetry chase. So that was my first falconry experience, was a telemetry chase. So we put another bird up, and they pillowcased a baggy pheasant for me on a younger bird they were starting, and it was just the coolest thing ever. And ever since then, they had kind of a small little meet, a bunch of longwingers would get together, 8 or 10 guys, and every year I would just burn up the phone line, bothering every rancher we knew, trying to get my falconer buddies permission on as many duck ponds as I could get. And, man, I was their little protege, rode around with them, opened all the gates, and I would go check the ponds with a periscope for ducks, and, probably come up with a ton of ground for them, and for the price of a root beer and a cheeseburger, that I was their best friend. So yeah, and still to this day, those 2 guys that came at my door, the one of them, his name's Kirk Williams. He was my sponsor, so it's kind of came full circle, and we go fly together and stuff like that and have a lot of fun. So
nice. Well, and yeah, for anyone listening, it's been mentioned before, but the quickest way to earn a sponsorship or an apprenticeship is to find hunting spots for the prospective people you're wanting to apprentice under. And the quickest way to get into a falconer's good grace is to hook them up with hunting spots.
That's right. Yeah, just pick up a cool 20,000 acres for them,
sure,
and tell them their bird's feet look big, and all the things you got to do, man.
Yeah, it's at least you got a nice introduction though into a large part of what really goes on, with the whole telemetry chase.
First thing out the gate, telemetry chase after bird chasing crows. Yeah, it's a good time.
Yeah. Well, at least you didn't. There's so many people that I think get kind of like that false narrative of what they think that it's going to be this everything goes right every time. Especially the ones that see things go right that first time. I think that's how it's going to be every time, and we kind of have to tell them that that's not how it usually goes.
And and like I've had some of the best flights, and I've had with my goshawk in front of people that like didn't understand what they were seeing. And I'm like, dude, you don't know what you just seen.
Yeah.
And then I've had some worse ones too. Some of the worst ones in front of people for the first time. So that's how that goes. That's just falconry, It
definitely is. There's and it's always nice to get people like a great first experience. But honestly, anymore, what I've learned is that if people see the worst of it initially,
yeah, it's only uphill from there.
It's only uphill.
That's
And,
right.
and the ones that keep coming back after, that terrible first impression that they get of what everything can go wrong type of deal, those are the ones that you kind of know they're going to be back. They're going to stick with it. So, but yeah. So I mean, but you've been around here, like this general area, pretty much your whole life then.
Yeah. I grew up within 20 minutes of here my entire life. My family's like I'm 5th generation in this area. We've always farming and ranching, kind of either cowboyed for somebody, worked cows, or drove tractor for about everybody. My folks own a restaurant here in town, so I'm pretty, my family's, pretty well known around the area, know everybody. It's hard for me to go into Walmart without having to talk to 5 or 6 people, man. I send my old lady to Walmart if I can, just for that reason.
She from around here too?
Yeah, she is. It's funny, we went to the same grade school, went to the same school and stuff like that. Never really knew her. She's a couple years younger than me and stuff. And then once we got together, we figured out, we were in the same yearbook and had a lot of the same teachers, stuff like that. So pretty fun.
Small town stuff.
That's right. Yeah, it's exactly what it is.
Yeah, I grew up in that environment too.
Sure.
It's different.
Yeah,
Different.
yeah, it is.
Very different. But yeah, it's cool though, man, that you've kind of found your niche so quickly, for yourself here. I mean, do you see yourself kind of staying in this niche indefinitely? Like,
you mean as far as just kind of like living in the area, flying the same birds?
Are you content with your falconry as it is now, and can you foresee not deviating from that for at least a very long time?
Yeah, I think I'm pretty comfortable where I'm at, and as far as my falconry goes, I have a lot of pretty fair opportunity here and stuff like that, and access we don't have a lot of public ground here at all, so a lot of it does revolve around relationships with landowners, farmers and ranchers and stuff like that. And like I said, I've kind of in a uniquely advantageous position given my life and my family's what we've done forever and stuff like that, knowing a lot of folks, so that really helps me out a lot. And being into hunting before and already had a previous relationship with people hunting on their property and knowing how to get permission, stuff like that. So I'm pretty comfortable where I'm at, man. Like usually, if I see ducks somewhere I don't have permission, I can figure it out real quick, and generally in the numbers on my phone to get a hold of somebody, stuff like that. So that really is a bigger blessing. And I understand, a lot of people don't have that, and it's tough, man. There's a lot of, I feel very, very lucky to be where I'm at and have what I have to do this, and have a pen full of dogs that keep me in game all year. And that may even be the more important thing than knowing a lot of people, or whatever caveat you want to make there. Because I mean, having a good stable of dogs to keep your bird in game is paramount.
Yeah. I mean, you can have the debate on whether or not, which one's the chicken and which one's the egg, as far
That's
as,
right.
Having the land access versus the dogs to give you those opportunities and all that kind of stuff.
Access to birds, or
yeah,
whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's cool though that, so many people rely on, myself included, like, the Onyx hunts of the world, to kind of at least give us a clue on who. But I mean, if you already kind of have all these people like in your back pocket, so to speak, that you don't even need, a fancy app or anything. You already know who you can call, and you already got the numbers, and that's
Man, that's the other thing too. The Onyx hunt deal is just it's opened so many doors to me, because like you can go knock on a guy's door and be like, yeah, hey man, can I hunt this 80 acres over here? And I have places I've hunted for 10 years that I didn't even know somebody owned a pasture 5 miles away, and they've owned it for 30 years. I had no idea until Onyx came on the scene, and it's such a great tool and helps you memorize stuff. And when I do go places, when I go out of state, because I do love to travel and hunt, and that's one of my favorite things to do. I try to get a few trips in a year, and it gives me the opportunity to have access in new places. And yeah, it's one of the best tools there is. And I think everybody should have it. My dad doesn't even hunt, and he has Onyx maps just to see who owns stuff.
It is a good tool for sure. I mean, it is nice though that you don't have to sit there and pull it out every single time to know who to call and everything, right, though, and have those resources though. Man, I'd kill to have that. And, yeah. I mean, I can see that being worth its weight in gold, and being kind of any kind of deterrent to try and find those supposed greener pastures and other places, though. I mean, that being said, is there anywhere that you've thought about potentially relocating to eventually? Or
No, man, my whole family's here. My wife's family's here. I could never foresee myself permanently relocating anywhere. I mean, as much as I travel, it seems like there's greener pastures everywhere, but it's a trade-off one way or another. I like Idaho a lot. I'll say that.
Yeah.
I haven't got to really explore up there and hunt it, but we took my wife and I took our honeymoon last year, and went up through Yellowstone, and I've been around Wyoming and Montana a bunch, but I hadn't really been in Idaho, and just it's really just chasing the places you haven't been kind of thing, I guess, for me, and I really want to get up there, and there's still a lot of doors that I would like to. A lot of boxes, I should say, I'd like to check, traveling around to hunt and stuff like that.
For sure. Yeah, I enjoyed living in Idaho briefly, when I was working in Boise, and I would live in Idaho in a heartbeat if it wasn't for the damn winters.
Oh yeah,
like they're brutal, especially in like eastern Idaho or whatever. But I'm like you, man. I'm cool with red tails and squirrels and kestrels and whatever, and I go back and forth all the time. That I've never been a huge fan of Southern Indiana ever since I grew up. But at the same time, it's like, well, there's always certain things that are going to kind of somewhat, at least a little bit, keep you to certain places.
That's right. That's right. And you can. There's always that like kind of pie in the sky dream of going to fly sage grouse or whatever grouse you want to. Set Sharpies or whatever. But you go, like I hunted in Montana 2 years ago, and we had the greatest time. I was flying my bird, and his first year, my goshawk, and I was in a ton of game. They had a great hatch. I was gun hunting too, and every day just coming back to the truck with a vest full of birds. I'm like, this is awesome. This is great. Like my wheels were spinning. Like, can I move up here? Like, what could I do to like come up here and do this more? And then, the next year they don't have a great hatch, or they had a harsh winter, a dry summer, whatever it is. And the bird numbers just dump. And I'm like, you know what, man, like it's fun to kind of fantasize about going somewhere. But at the same time, like I know that here, I'm maybe not always going to have the greatest season, but I'm going to have something to fly here. And it's just one of those things. Like, like I said, it's fun to dream about, maybe going somewhere, but at the same time, if I get a lot of time off at my job, and if I can travel a week or two to these places and stuff like that and experience stuff, I think that's good enough for me.
Sure. Yeah. And like I said, there's nothing wrong with being content with what you got and where you're at. I mean, I think it's awesome.
For sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
I love it when people are fine with what they've got. And,
absolutely.
I mean, it's for me, I just at this point in my life, I'm just like, well, I just still don't even know where I would settle to go. I mean, because I have no desire to move again anytime soon. I can tell you that.
Yeah, dude, moving's just, oh man, it's the worst. It's hard to do. There's so much that goes into it. I hated moving here, honestly, but I'm so glad I'm here and settled. And like I said, I don't plan on pulling up roots anytime soon,
Yeah. So, I mean, going back to what you're mainly doing right now, though, I mean, well, I guess we should start off and just did you start off with, typical red tail, whatever, like most apprentices start off with, and then do that for a season or two, and then
I flew a female red tail for 2 years, same one, intermuter. Probably should have done that, but we got through it, and it was a lot of fun, getting to put a bird through the molt, that's something I wanted to do, and fly a bird with a fire engine red tail. I thought that was like pretty cool thing to do, and I really enjoyed having her around. She was a delight to have, and we did really well in the field together. She was a great bird for me to learn with, and had a ton of fun. And if something happened, I wouldn't have any qualms going straight back to a red tail. Honestly, man, I had so much fun with that bird. My only regret with her is, I didn't really ever hawk squirrels with her like intently. We caught a pile of cottontails, but man, I really like kind of. after like when you interviewed Gary Brewer and stuff like that, that was like a big eye opener to me. I'm like, man, why didn't I do that? And I had my buddy Tyler here, Tyler Sladen was up here turkey hunting with me a month ago, and we were picking morel mushrooms and stuff. He's like, so you don't fly this for squirrels? I'm like, no, I never did. And I was like, man, like, I don't know why I never really pursued that. I wish I would have. Like, I have one of my short hairs. She goes ham on tree and squirrels, man. And I just, now I really would, I regret not doing it, and I will at some point. One of my mentors, he'll hopefully be on and stuff and here before long. And I've been out squirrel hawking with his red tail, and it was a blast, man. I never got to experience it. My, previous, before I was flying a red tail and before I was a falconer and I was going with those guys, I never seen anything fly but long wings. I never seen a red tail fly. I never seen a goshawk fly. So for however long I was running around with those guys, I was 8 years old. I'd go with them for a week or two a year, and, it was exclusively long wings, which is pretty adverse to most people's intro into falconry, so it's pretty unique there. But I wish I kind of would have got to see it, because before I had gotten a goshawk, I'd never even seen a goshawk on a glove or flown or anything, so that was it was a pretty big eye opener once I got one, though.
yeah, for sure. Well, and that's it. I've mentioned this, or I've talked to people so many times about this particular topic, because my introduction wasn't very typical either, except it was the opposite way of like yours.
Right.
I mean, the first rabbit I ever caught, my buddy Mark let me hunt his goshawk Dixie, and he was walking, and the first rabbit I ever caught was with his goshawk Dixie. Like, it's just, and so I mean, I saw nothing but goshawks and red tails and Harris's primarily for my first X amount of years and stuff, and I it was several years in before I even saw a long wing in person, period, let alone one fly and hunt. In Mexico, I think was the first time.
No kidding.
Yeah, seeing one hunt. So, and like you, I deeply, deeply regret not getting into squirrel hawking sooner.
Right.
Because you've probably heard me mention it before. That was the devil, right?
Sure, yeah,
it was
yeah.
The devil, it's a no squirrel hawking.
Hey, it's a no for me with that goshawk, with a tiercel goshawk too. I don't want anything to do with those things. I've caught one and I didn't like it was scary.
Yeah.
Or I was scared anyway. My goshawk wasn't.
No, they don't care.
No, he did. No.
Yeah, they're fine. But, it's us that it worries more than them for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, so I feel you on that though, man. I mean, it was like 8 years in before I tried squirrel hawking, and I was just like, man, I didn't fully appreciate red tails until then either.
Really?
So I don't know, man. It's so similar yet different, as far as the experience and stuff. But so you went from the one red tail then straight into goshawks from that?
Yeah. I jumped in, kind of drinking through a fire hose. I jumped in, decided I was going to imprint a goshawk, and I ended up, I don't know if, well, I've talked about it before. I ended up getting a North American finished tiercel from a guy in Missouri named Dennis Samney, and I
Dennis.
was
Dennis, good guy.
Yeah, I like Dennis, man. He was very gracious and helped me through a lot of stuff, and with him, never handling an IS and stuff like that, and spent some time on the phone with me and stuff, and I was really grateful for that. And it really worked out too, because I had a couple other friends that were kind of in the same boat as me, and imprinting goshawks and hacking and stuff same year as me. So that was really, really helpful for me, is to be able to bounce questions off everybody and stuff like that, and trying to be I'm always a pretty open book on taking advice, from people that are emulating the falconry that I want to do. Anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, I ended up, like I said, I've talked about it before. I lost that bird on tame hack to an owl. He got left out overnight, and ended up finding a pile of feathers in the morning, man. It was a real bummer, raising something from a baby. Me and my wife, we're both animal lovers, as anybody who's falconer is, and it's hard to see something go from a downy chick to a pile of feathers in a cornfield. But yeah, man, a moonlit night in owl country is not a real advantageous thing for a goshawk sitting in a dead tree. It was a bummer, man. But found the pile of feathers in the morning. I put all the pieces together, just sucked it up and went to work, man. And I had a group chat of buddies that I was telling about, what happened and whatnot. And a couple of them are bird dog guys, a couple of them are falconers. And on the way home from work that day, I get a call from Tyler Sladen and one of the guys in that group chat. And he called and told me I was on the way home. And he's like, hey, man, we found a bird for you. I was like, oh, great. That's awesome. I didn't really know anything about it. He's telling me, he's like, yeah, it's Mark Moglich has this Siberian white bird that's Tearsole. He's like, I think you could do really good with it. And he's like, by the way, we got you taken care of, man. We pay,
that was nice of him, man.
Yeah. It was unbelievable, man.
Siberians aren't cheap either.
No, so that's the other thing.
It's a hell of a nice gesture on their part.
Yeah, it was unbelievable, man. I had to pull over on the side of the road, man.
Emotional.
Yeah. Like I said, losing a bird, and then the same day, find out you're gonna have another one to fly, and your season's not wrecked. Because I was thinking, I was like, I could go get me a passage coop, but it's not really what I wanted to do for my second bird. But you just have so much hope and aspirations for a young bird like that, and to have it yanked from you,
been there, dude. We
a
all
lot of people have.
Yeah. I mean, that's like you said, man. It's falconry.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's crazy too how many people kind of came out of the woodwork and talked about, just called me and were like, hey, don't beat yourself up. This has happened to me, and tell me stories. And a lot of people came up with good ideas how to keep my bird alive afterwards. I'm like, I guess I know for next time. But yeah, no, it was unbelievable. Those guys put that together and helped me get that bird, and I continued my season, and I still got him today, man. We just finished our second season, very, what I would consider really successful season, and he's molting right now in the chamber, man. I really love that thing to death. We have a lot of fun.
Well, like I said, we're always paying tuition. You just got to move on.
That's right.
You just got to shrug and shake it off and get back on the horse and move on. That's all you can do.
That's right.
Because it's not going to be your last mistake either.
Oh yeah, well that's the thing. Dude, it could happen next time. Anytime a bird leaves your fist, man.
Sure, yeah, and I tell people, like when I'm presenting and stuff, to these different groups of people and everything, I tell them that you can see 1,000,001 ways that all this stuff can go wrong, and just when you think you've seen everything there is to see, you discover 1,000,002.
That's right. That's right.
And it's just like, there's nothing else to be done for it except decide then, do you want to keep doing it or do you not?
Yeah.
And if you do, then you have to accept the fact that something else will inevitably happen. You just hope it's not one of the things that you've already done wrong.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
So I feel you, man. Well, that's cool though. We've got, it's a small community. We of course have a lot of mutual friends, and it's really nice that you had a group of people that had your back in that situation and wanted to do something nice for you. So it's really cool.
Dude, it was super cool too. And like, man, after that, I posted about when I brought the bird home, or got the bird from the airport, I should say, that, what had happened. And, my buddies bought me, I had a ton of falconers reach out to me, and just people that I hunt with and stuff like that, gun hunt with and whatnot, that they were like, dude, why didn't you say something? I was like, dude, I didn't even know they were doing it.
Yeah.
So it was pretty cool to see how gracious folks are and stuff like that. And I'll tell you though, I didn't have the intestinal fortitude to hack another bird. So this bird I got isn't tame hacked, but we have a lot of fun together, man.
Yeah. So have you done pretty much just imprints?
Yeah, I've only, he's the only, so he's just,
no parent reared.
Yeah, no, I haven't got a fly parent reared bird yet. I think they're really interesting. And I think that before I would get another goshawk, I'm going to have a pretty good foray in the long wing before I dive back into another goshawk, if something ever happens to this one, God willing, But yeah, no, I think that the parent rear thing, they're really interesting. I'd love to see one handled and flown and stuff like that. From what folks have told me, like I've talked to Ian Anderson a bunch about his, and he's like, yeah, it's like having a parrot that kills stuff. It's great. I was like, man, that's got to be kind of nice, and not have anything screaming in your ear. That would be the biggest thing for me, as just how loud imprints are and stuff like that in their first season, or imprint goshawks are in their first season. It was a learning experience too. I learned why a lot of falconers put music over their videos and stuff.
Yeah.
I had, like say, not being around one, that was an eye opener. I knew it was going to happen, but I didn't know it was like to that level and stuff. But I mean, there was so many things I'm sure I did wrong to make it worse and stuff like that. And, just not being around it and stuff like that. But, we suffered through it and got to where we're at. So that's what matters.
Well, and it's not a small undertaking.
No, it's not.
For a brand new general.
Yeah.
Like it's not a small undertaking to go straight from just flying one red tail to go straight into Goshawks.
Yeah, it was, like I said, it was drink through a fire hose. It really was. But I knew that I had a pretty good group of people around me that had flown enough accipiters or I thought anyway, that I had some pretty good help. So, I mean, I definitely wasn't alone in the endeavor either, so I didn't have anybody really close to me or anything like that. But, just having somebody that's willing to pick up the phone and talk to you that, knows what they're talking about, it was a huge help to me.
The resources are important. It's a mistake that I think most falconers have made is asking not just too many people, but too many of the wrong people for the wrong situation.
Absolutely.
It's an easy mistake to make because, still being so new, you just never know, what you're dealing with, and your filter isn't quite in place yet to be able to tell, what you're hearing is like, kind of a little suspect, versus like really good advice or whatever, and so I mean, the fact that you're able to at least get it going, pull it off, and all that, I mean, is a good test. I mean, because I had my first personal goshawk experience this past season, secondhand bird type of deal, and everything else, and I've been joking with goshawk guys for years and years and years and years and years now, and I know exactly how they think, and it's to at least in their somewhat humble defense, it's easy to understand why goshawk guys get so elitist.
Oh yeah,
because they're not easy birds to fly.
No, they're not. And like I said, I don't have like a wide breadth of experience, but I mean, I feel like if you're handling one and flying it and catching a ton of stuff with it, you can probably handle a lot. Just seeing what they are.
They will take you to the limits of your patience.
Oh yeah.
And that's just putting it mildly.
Yeah, dude. There's been a few days where I try to fly every day, because I just, my job and stuff like that allows for that. I have a really forgiving, beautiful, loving wife. I like to tell her all the time, and that so I'm allowed to hunt a lot, with my circumstances, thankfully, and one that. Being able to hunt a lot masks a lot of the stuff, my mishandlings and stuff like that, being able to keep my bird in game, I'm sure. But there's days that you're just like, man, I got to take a day off here and there, and this year I took a lot more days off this year than I did last year. And man, there were some of them that were needed. I promise you, man, they test your patience. That's for sure. I'm sure.
And if you fly hard, the bird needs them too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And really, I'll tell you, like the days that I did take off, it seemed like towards the end of season when I was mostly kind of transitioning into flying waterfowl that we had a bunch of just terribly windy days. I'm glad I ended my season a little early when I did, because our weather was just abhorrent this year. And the days that like I would rest my bird a day, fly the next day, dude, I would have such a better experience just handling everything. And, most of those days we were successful after a day of rest. So that gives me a lot of hope, and maybe picking up a long wing this year that I can fly one day and one the other. Maybe it's just my dream, that, have a rested bird comes back strong the next day. So we'll see what happens though.
Yeah, that's what a lot of guys do, especially the retired guys. You know?
Absolutely.
I mean, for sure. I mean, that's their kind of the way they operate, have a couple birds and just alternate them off and go every day. And I mean, I like I said, I admire people that are able to do that. I feel like if I can get out 3 to 4 times a week, then I'm
that's still hunting a lot though.
Yeah.
By common standards,
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of guys that can't even do it much more than just the weekends. And I hunt with a lot of them too. And it's, you start getting the weird trade-off stuff that happen. You can't work through problems as easily unless you're hunting more, and at the same time, it's just this constant like trade-off, this balancing act or whatever. But so I mean, but you aside from waterfowl, it's mainly quail for you, right?
Yeah, mainly flying upland birds. That's my focus anyway. I catch a pretty good handful of rabbits, but it's mostly just by happenstance. I don't ever turn down a rabbit flight. I love flying rabbits with my goshawk. They're some of my favorite flights I have, and but like I said, if you're in quail cover, you're in rabbit cover too here. So they kind of go hand in hand, and there's a lot of days that I get off of work, 4:00, and in the wintertime, it's dark at 5:15. So by the time I get my bird ready, I have 45 minutes to hunt. I'm going rabbit hunting. I'm not going quail hunting. By the time I dump dogs and find the covey and then maybe get a reflush, maybe not, whatever. The quail thing is just pretty tough to do on those days. But my weekends on when I'm on day shift like that and stuff like that, because I bounce back and forth between nights and days, and I pretty well just make my weekends about upland hawking. So, and then the weekdays are either ducks or rabbits. So that's what I really like about the goshawks, just the versatility and that and stuff like that. So we get a little diversity there.
Sure.
But the focal point of me ever getting a goshawk, the whole intent was for me to be able to fly game over pointing dogs. That was kind of the whole antithesis of really me jumping both feet first into falconry. Because like I said, I'd been around it forever since I was, just a kid. And I think I'd rode around with those guys for, until I was like 26 before I became a falconer. So from 8 to 26, whatever that is. And not a mathematician here. It's a long time, Yeah. And I also just, wasn't set up, was traveling for work and stuff. I bought this place and pulled the trigger on getting into falconry, and that really kind of set the standard for me. And I had a local job after that and really got to fly my red tail hard. And so and that's part of it too, is just having the right setup and time off work and stuff like that to be able to pursue it. And I know we all talk about that all the time, but it's huge.
Well, I mean, you can't say it enough.
Yeah.
I will die on that hill. I will sound like a broken record so that people that are listening to these things, like they get the message. If they're Absolutely. Still on the fence, there's certain themes that you have to hear over and over and over again if you're thinking about getting into this. And that's one of them. If you don't have the time and if you don't have the quarry,
right,
then don't do it.
Right. Yeah. Find somebody to go with a couple times a year.
Yeah.
I always tell people, that all my buddies that gun hunt that come with me, I'm like, dude, it's kind of like owning a boat. You don't want to be the guy that owns a boat. You just want to go out on it a few times a year. I'm like, that's a good place to stay. I promise you it is.
Very much so. That's a good analogy. That's actually a great analogy because, I mean, if you're just the type of person that doesn't feel like they necessarily have to do it themselves, but can get out just enough to kind of scratch the itch, That's so right. to speak, and then kind of like it's kind of like borrowing a niece or a nephew. You can give it right back,
That's right,
at the very end of the day, whatever.
I do that too.
I mean, it's very much. I think that honestly is going to fit the vast majority of people's lifestyles more than idiots like us that choose to get ate up with it.
Oh yeah, man. And I'm always like, I have such an addictive personality to that stuff. And like, I grew up like cowboying and stuff like that. Keeping horses is like a whole nother thing. And like, you need to be in a different tax bracket than I'm in.
Dude, I'm not even going to, I've tried multiple times and I just gave up trying to wrap my head around that world.
Oh yeah. Well, like I have buddies that, they rope and go to ranch rodeos and stuff like that. They'd always invite me to like practice pins for team roping and stuff. I'm like, dude, all right, I'm already feeding enough dogs and stuff. Like I have enough irons in the fire. Like I don't need to do that. I've always like made myself not go. So I didn't need to get another hobby. Like I need summers off, man. I really do.
I feel you. I mean, I've had to pare down a lot of things in my life just to be able to make the few things that take up the most time work, and I mean, you only have so much money and so much time.
That's right.
So pick.
Yeah, dude. I have 2 seasons. I have hunting season and home project season, and right now we're in home project season. So that's kind of how I like to keep it.
Yeah, man. It's always that balancing act and the personal stuff is always a fine fine line to try and juggle too. But anyway, so I do want, to, before we start to kind of get towards the end of this, like, I do want to talk about dogs a little bit more though,
Sure.
because I mean, you've been running dogs for a while. They're a big part of your falconry. I mean, which breeds do you prefer and why?
So for me, I have a pretty good stable of dogs down here, and I have 4 German Shorthair pointers, and then I have a setter that I started this year, and so he just turned a year old. But for me, I really like my short hairs for falconry, even, for upland and furred game. I've had, and, water and stuff like that. They're a pretty versatile breed. They offer a lot of the things that I like. My setter is a little different ball game. They're generally just bird focused. Really though, he retrieves rabbits and points rabbits just like he does birds. So that's kind of fun there. But a little bigger range and dog, they kind of all have their niche they fill. But as far as the short hairs go, I think they're probably the best tool for the job where I'm at. I can brace them together. Which, I mean, running multiple dogs at a time, they all work well together. And I have enough dogs that I can rotate in and out and stuff like that when, because there's a lot of days that I go gun hunt for 2 hours, then fly the bird, or vice versa. And with that being said, I don't live in a place where there's just these massive expanses of places to go, property wise. I may be hunting an 80 here, a 40 over there, where my setter may not be the right tool for the job. That's where the short hairs come in. I can suck them in close, push them out far, to range for birds, whatever I need to do. And I can do that with that setter too, and I'm learning more and more about him. Just through the season that we just had, I introed him right at the end of season. Mostly just on baggy birds, just for a controlled scenario for him. Whenever I needed to bag my bird, I would just bring my setter pup, and he did fantastic, really. Point the bird, follow the bird to the catch, essentially. Like I said, baggies, they're not going real far. And before the Goshawks hucks them up, and I'd feed the bird up, he'd lay 15 yards down, just lay down and watch. I was like, dude, this is perfect.
Nice.
And as far as the dog thing goes, I mean, it's hard for me to go hawking without dogs, just because I do a lot of big game hunting and stuff too. But just in general, my general thing is like, I just want to hunt with dogs. I want to do stuff with dogs. That's just kind of part of the falconry for me. Like I said, I was around long winging forever, and most of those guys, they have a dog in the truck. They let it out to pee at the end of the day. That's fine with them, and they're mostly focused on the birds. But like I said, the big trigger for me to jump both feet into falconry was seeing people fly upland game over pointing dogs. And like I said, I've had dogs since I was in high school of my own, and so I've always been fascinated with upland birds and pointing dogs. So to add a bird into that was kind of the whole thing for me to get into it.
Yeah.
So
well, and I can't remember, did you say that you alternate dogs, or do you just run or do you run them all together, or do you just kind of brace them up and alternate days with them? Or?
There's a lot of times I do alternate days with them. Like my weekday hunts that are shorter hunts, I just bring one dog with me, especially if I'm just, looking for rabbits. But, and it depends on the property I'm hunting too. There's certain times I'll drop 3 dogs to fly quail. There's certain times I drop 1. It really just depends on the amount of control I need in the field and the dogs I'm dropping. If I know that I'm in a pretty difficult area and I need multiple dogs, I've flown over 4 dogs before of my own, and really it's very effective. It's in certain situations, whether it's pinning birds that are running or, whatever the case may be. There's certain places that really call for more dog power, and that's, when you haven't, it's just like anybody, if you have 45 minutes at the end of the day, you want to get your bird as many opportunities as they can. I'd put the basset hound in the field too. I haven't done that yet, but I mean, if that's what it took, I would do it, So, but most of the time it is a brace of 2 dogs for me when I go to fly quail. And my 2 main dogs that I do it with are my 8-year-old dog Chunk, and then Pickle. She's 3. She's kind of my main falconry dog, just because I can drop her every day, and I can run the wheels off of her. She's ready to go the next day. And man, when I pull in the driveway and she sees the bird come out, she's spinning circles and barking in her kennel. She's going, she knows we're going hawking. So it's a lot of fun to take a dog that has enthusiasm. And what, we have so many red tails and stuff like that I do worry about, that with her specifically versus my other dogs that, before I was into falconry were mostly gun dogs. They do a great job, but she does a lot of things that I really like as far as following the flights and just hanging out with the bird when he's caught something, or whether he, misses and goes up in a tree or whatever. She's standing under the tree when I get there. And, because a lot of my quail flights are anywhere between, 200 and 500 yards sometimes, depending on where they're at. So I'm 5'6" and I'm built for feed, not for speed. So I need a dog that can get there quick, and she really fills that niche really well for me. She does great with rabbits, stuff like that too. So she's kind of an all around little dog that I have a lot of fun with too. So
yeah. Any breeds that you think you might try and get later on down the road for other reasons or anything, or
I've said for a while now that I think that like a Springer Spaniel or an English Cocker, for me, I think would be fantastic in the field. I would like to see one flown over a bird, and I would like to see the breed more work. I think that, that sub 15 yards with a goshawk, keeping that dog reined in is just powering back and forth in front of you and flushing. I have a really good friend that breeds some of the best springers in the country. And I really want to see her dogs run more and kind of get a fuller understanding of how to use them correctly and just kind of seeing what they are. Cause we've been friends forever, but I've seen her dogs run in one trial, and I need to see more. But I think they'd be really handy. And like Tyler runs a Yag too as a flusher with his pointing dogs, and I flew Mearns quail over that Yag, and dude, it was money too. Like then that Yag flushes game, flushes rabbits, runs rabbits. Like there's so many good breeds that when handled right would be fantastic. And even I don't really have any inclination to own a beagle, but man, if I was just flying rabbits, dude, I'd have 3 or 4 beagles out in that kennel right now. Like I think they're super cool dogs. There's, like I said, there's just so many breeds that have potential to keep your bird in a lot of game and stuff, and keep you in constant success, I think, but I think if I went any which way, it would either be for more, like I said, I'm pretty partial to my short hairs because that's mostly what I've ran my entire life. But I could definitely see myself with another setter, maybe a Springer Spaniel at some point. I think the Springers would be great.
Yeah, especially for bigger open areas like what you have. Mm-hmm. I would agree with that. I mean, I've seen a couple of cockers and spaniels hunt, and they're good dogs.
Oh, great!
But I wouldn't want one for like more confined areas though. Mm-hmm. I definitely would want one for your bigger fields and want more wide open areas and things like that. But they're cool dogs.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, and like I said, man, if you get one that just loves going into cover, man, hey, send them in.
Yeah,
I think that I think they'd be a really good tool for the right application, and I think for a goshawk, I think a Springer would be money. But like I said, that's just me. That's kind of a pipe dream for me because I've never really got to see them flown over or ran. So I just want to see that. I'm a big fan of seeing stuff before I do it, except for getting a goshawk. I just jumped into that one. But yeah, heck, no. And I think that the Yag would be a great option too, seeing them ran like I have with falconry and stuff. But English pointers are a great option too, they're bigger running dogs yet than anything for the most part that I have in my kennel. I do have some wide open places, that I could potentially run one and stuff like that. But I think I'm pretty good with the short hairs and the setter for now. But I definitely see another setter in the future for sure, and more short hairs, obviously. That's probably going to be a constant for me, man. I just like them, That's just my thing.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with wanting more dogs, man.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a constant battle for me. I'm going to have to be probably content with the 2 dachshunds that I'm taking, and then my Vizsla until she's at the latter end of her life now anyway, though. But this past season, getting her back out and having fun with her again, because that was the only dog the Harris would fly over without either, with just being stubborn or without trying to eat.
Okay.
But I mean, getting her back out again was a lot of fun. And yeah, man, I mean, just we share a lot of the same, much like a lot of mutual friends of ours and stuff too. I mean, we share a lot of the same enthusiasm. It's just not as fun for me unless there's dogs involved.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, like I said, when I started flying ducks, it felt weird not dropping a dog to go fly ducks. It felt wrong to me.
Yeah. I don't know, man. It's just it takes a lot of the extra dimension and that extra kind of fun and that other bond that you have with another animal in the field. It just takes away from it if they're not there.
That's right. Yeah, and like I said, man, it's they're a great companion. Like I said, it's just hard to imagine doing a whole lot of hunting without dogs. I have envy for people that just go beat up briars all day with no dogs. I don't know how they do it.
I hunt with a few of those the time. It sucks. It's a lot of work.
Yeah, I'm not into that.
It's a lot of work, and so. But anyway, well, and one more quick question before we get like your story. As far as like whenever you try to do the long wing thing, are you gonna mainly just start with a peregrine? You think? I mean, I know you're wanting to do the passage peregrine and stuff probably first, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's my intent, is trying to catch a passage peregrine this year. So we'll see how that goes. But kind of the sky's the limit. There's so many different combinations that people put together and stuff like that. But as far as the long winging goes, man, I would really like to kind of dip my toe in the passage peregrine. That way, if I screw it up, or I can just let it go.
Yeah, exactly.
And if I don't like it, that's kind of the big thing for me is why I wanted to start there. That, and I've had a lot of long wingers that just tell me that, hey, that's the place to start. I take their word for it.
Sure.
They know more than me.
Sure.
So that's kind of where I'm at on that. And then, maybe transition into a Geo Peregrine Tiercel or something later on down the line. We'll see how I like the passage peregrine, man. There's a reason a lot of people fly peregrines. That's for sure. So
yeah, they're great birds.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So, well, cool, man. Yeah. It's been nice getting a chance to finally have a conversation like this face to face with you and talk more about, what your personal, likes and dislikes are and stuff or whatever. Speaking of that, is there anything that you think you already, that you never want to mess with?
As a goshawker, it's my obligation to badmouth Harris hawks.
Oh, yeah, here we go.
I seen some Harris hawks flown this year. It was cool and all, but for me, it's not really a thing. After flying a goshawk and stuff like that, if I was going to go back and if I was to divert to something like that, I would just go back to a red tail, personally, for what I want to do and the quarry that I have. Sure. I think that a red tail is just better suited personally. But I think that would probably be my only thing I really don't care to do, and not to denigrate them in any way, but as a goshawk elitist, you gotta say it. Yeah, of course. Yeah, it wouldn't be a goshawk oriented podcast without somebody taking a poo poo on a Harris hawk. That's right.
That's right. Yeah, even though that there's whatever, we can have that. There's no reason to have that debate. It's been had plenty of times already.
That dead horse has been beaten to death a few times.
It's not even pulp anymore. It's
right.
It's vapor. I mean, it's like if you could even it's at the molecular level now.
We'll beat that thing into dust.
But yeah, man, no, it's cool though. I mean, I'm glad that you've already kind of discovered mostly what you pretty sure at least what you think you like, want to stick with.
And that that could change anytime.
Of course.
With the advent of starting a family or something like that, I could see myself stepping back from a goshawk or something like that, and
sure.
And that kind of event. But one of the other things I really haven't got to do is I haven't really got to see a kestrel flown yet. I'm interested in that. I'd like to see it. I think it's cool.
Pure fun, man. It's pure fun.
The only I got to see a buddy fly a tiercel coop, car hawking and stuff like that. That was some of the most fun I've had. We just beat up some grackles and starlings and stuff. Man, that was a blast. Yeah. And I could definitely see how kestrel could be a ton of fun too. And I have a bunch of good spots for kestrels, industrial parks, and just where I see them all the time and stuff. I think that if that'd be a fun one, at some point. But for now, I think I'm pretty stuck on the goshawk and hopefully the long wing thing. We'll see how that goes. I don't know how I couldn't like it. seeing what I've seen and stuff like that. I think that's probably where I'm at.
Sure. Well, like I said, nothing wrong with that, man. And, it's nice. It's nice having some focus for a while.
Yeah.
Because, having made that mistake of not having want to do all the things and not having a particular focus for quite a few years, it was, that's one of the other things I wish I'd have done differently. So, I mean, it's good that you kind of are cool with sticking with one thing for a bit and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, like I said, you know how this works, man. I mean, we got to get that one favorite hunting story or experience, with a bird, whatever the case is, and then your favorite or what you think is the most pertinent piece of advice that you can maybe pass off, and we can probably come close to wrapping this up, man.
So my favorite hunting story is probably from this season. Left the house on kind of a time crunch, and I was just really headed out to a quick rabbit spot. Had a couple hours to fly before work, and just one dog in the truck, and got a duck slip on the way with no success. Pull up to the rabbit spot after I get my bird gathered up, and right out of the gate, got an awesome rabbit flight. The bird furs the rabbit really well, no catch, and puts it into a brush pile. Get the bird gathered back up. As soon as I do, I turn around. My dog's on point at like 80, 85 yards, and I walk into the point expecting a rabbit and kind of some shorter grass that maybe we pushed out of some cover. I'm like, dude, this thing's cooked. We're catching this rabbit. Mm-hmm. And covey of quail gets up, had it on video. My bird rockets in and yanks feathers on the rise and ends up taking the flight farther and catching a quail. And, get the bird scooped up off the quail and stuff like that. We're kind of, having our proverbial high fives and stuff like that and slapping ourselves on the back and start working our way around. Didn't have much time left, and dog goes on point again, another single quail, and takes it all the way to a brush pile. And, there was no opportunity for a reflush there. That brush pile was the size of a freaking pickup. Keep hunting around a little more, get another flight, and he ends up catching, and we doubled on really pretty male bobwhites. And, right when I was going on our second catch, he kind of caught it in kind of an open area, and he was like belly down to the ground. And, sure enough, I start looking around as I'm walking up to him, because that's not like him. He usually carries, a little ways to cover, as most goshawks are going to do with an upland bird, And he was pancaked out in the field, and I get up there to trade him off, and I look up, and there's an eagle right over us. So I was like, yeah, I think today that's a good omen to call it and go to the house, man. Yeah. So that was a pretty cool little hunt that turned into something I had no expectations of doing, and I think I doubled on quail like 3 times this year, and that was one of them. So that was a pretty special little hunt, just me and my dog Pickles, and by myself. Like I said, it's just like falconry. The coolest shit happens when nobody's there to see it. So that's how that goes. But yeah, man, no, that's my hunting story. And as far as a piece of advice, man, I don't have anything too profound. Doesn't
have to be profound.
Yeah, probably. I would just say that, if you are going to get a bird, just like everybody says, make sure you have the quarry to fly it. And, if you're new into it, just make sure you have somebody really good to lean on, multiple people to lean on that are doing the same kind of falconry that you're trying to do. I guess that's my best piece of advice. And if you can have a dog, before you get into falconry that's already doing what you want to do, that was the biggest help to me, keeping my my bird in game so much. Maybe that should be my piece of advice is have the dog before you have the bird. If you're going to have dog centric falconry, have a dog that's, well acquainted with the game you're pursuing. That's what helped me the most, honestly. So yeah, that should probably be my piece of advice.
Well, that's both are good, man. It's like, it's a lot. Both are good. It's a lot to try and get a dog and a bird going at the same time. Mm-hmm. And it's not very fun, honestly. Like, it's not as fun as you would think it would be.
Yeah, you need to put out one fire at a time.
For sure.
I've seen folks, kind of chase that deal, and man, it's not a good. And that's the other thing too. That's why I was just introing my puppy on baggies. Whenever I would bag my bird, which that's perfect. It's a really controlled scenario. So yeah. So that worked out in our favor.
Yeah. No, that's, like I said, man, it's always good whenever you kind of, even if you don't realize you're doing it at the time, kind of having the right pieces in place and doing things in the right order. Mm-hmm. there's a lot of people that don't do things the right way, and it's not always their fault, but at the same time, there's a lot of people also that don't really listen and they find out the hard way, and it could have been easily avoided too.
Some of those lessons just got to be learned the hard way, man.
For sure.
I'm a patron saint of that, dude. I'm good at learning lessons the hard way, man.
What do you think's, before we end then, what do you think's been one of the hardest lessons you've learned, other than, of course you had the mishap, and we all have mishaps and everything, but what's been the overall, hardest lesson that you think you've learned so far?
I don't know. I think the hardest lesson, I don't know if you call it a lesson. I guess it'd be a lesson, is just on handling a bird that you've never seen handled before. Like I said, I jumped in and never seen a goshawk flown, jumped into goshawks. I learned more from watching Tyler Sladen handle his bird. We went up to Montana and flew together with our new birds, like first week of, right when season opens up there. In early September. And I learned more just watching him, the way he picked up his bird. And it's just like subconscious things he didn't even know he was doing that were like huge helps to me. Just how he'd pick up his bird off a kill, trade his bird off, whatever it is. Like I said, I'd only ever traded off a red tail and seen falcons traded off, which, not that an imprint goshawk's hard to trade off, but it just gave me a ton of new ideas. So, maybe that's probably the hardest lesson I've learned, is just, not seeing a bird handled and then seeing one handled, whether it's how it should be or how he does it and it works for him. I pretty well emulated that, and, it started working for me. So I would say that's probably one of the harder lessons I've learned. Yeah,
I feel you, man. I don't think that I would have been able to, and don't get me wrong, even just, there was a lot of learning, hard lessons for me to learn with this goshawk that I flew for, half the season or whatever also. And, but I still think that I would have done something way worse, like way, way, way worse, if I hadn't already been watching goshawks fly for like the better part of a decade, and seeing, what some of the mannerisms, the signs, and just the being able to read one. It's not the same. It's not, there's differences.
Yeah.
And, you have to be able to read that extra level or two with a bird like that sometimes than say your red tails and stuff that are, well,
you can get away with murder.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I was feeding my bird up, and Tyler looked at me, he goes, my bird was looking up at me. He's like, your bird's about to foot you, by the way. I was like, oh, yeah, maybe I should stop what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Just subtle things like that.
Yeah, there's a look that goshawks have. Whenever they give it to you, you need to just kind of step back. Just kind of give it a little bit more. Yeah.
And that's one of those lessons you got to learn the hard way too sometimes,
Yeah.
Those are the ones you don't make again.
No, for sure. Well, cool, man. Well, this has been fun. Where you taking me for dinner?
Oh man, we'll probably go down to the Mexican joint, see if we can stir something up down there.
They got good margaritas?
They do. Good enough for me.
Fair enough, man. Well, awesome, dude. This has been fun. I'm glad we finally got a chance to make this happen. Is there anything else that you want to throw in before, anything we're forgetting or anything?
No, I don't think we're forgetting too much. No, it's been fun, dude.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to getting the rest of these guys recorded the rest of the weekend and stuff. And yeah, man, I'm starving. Let's go get something to eat.
Yeah, let's go do that.
Sweet.
Sounds good.